This is day 2 of Network Science DeepTech Innovation Week. I'm extremely glad that we are also moving towards a good number of participants today. We had an amazing day 1. We had 4 sessions focused on Industry 4.0, 3 sessions from with regards to accelerators built on deep technologies, and the last one was the panel discussion that we had. Today, we focused our conversations around cybersecurity and cloud. Of course, very, very pertinent topics in this age, in the COVID era. Let me quickly start with a short video, and then we will get going with our topic. So this is session 1. Thank you for joining in. Awesome. So as I mentioned, we have done with day 1 yesterday. We of course are starting off with an amazing presenter and a great company, Centralytics, talking about their cloud management platform. This is the first session of the total of 4 sessions that we will be hosting today. Of course, talking about cloud management, it is very important to understand the movement of that's happening in the cloud space. We all, of course, understand cloud and its needs, why it is so critical. But there are a few statistics I just thought I will share with you just to get your perspective in this. So we've heard some of the statements like these, that 2 years worth of digital transformation has happened in 2 months. This is, of course, the COVID impact that we're talking about. But then what does that really mean in numbers? What it really means is that earlier, before COVID, cloud was growing at a 6.1% on a year-on-year basis. However, the last year has seen it increasing by close to 20%. That's a massive growth within 1 year. So that's the kind of disruption we are seeing in the cloud services today. What is also very startling is that when we compare the cloud market with the most talked about sector, which is banking sector, and if you look at the numbers on both sides, it's even more startling. The top 10 banking companies market cap is $4.8 trillion. But the top 10 cloud providers market cap has now surpassed that, and it has now become $5.2 trillion. That's a significant outperformance of the benchmark index that most of the companies really follow, most of the geographies really follow. What does that really mean on the ground, right? Who are these players who are making such a massive difference? We, of course, know about them, right? And we speak about them quite a lot. The top 4 service providers, cloud service providers, AWS, Google, Microsoft Azure, and Alibaba. All of them are, of course, plotted on the graph in front of you. But what's very, very critical and interesting to see is that what's happened in the last 6 months. And what's happened really in the last 6 months is a massive amount of growth that has happened, especially, we're seeing more than 50% year-on-year growth that we are seeing as for all these 4 cloud service providers, right? Of course, Microsoft is growing at 50%. AWS is also growing at 28%. What does that also mean is that the market share of these companies has also started to getting disrupted, right? Now, so while the Microsoft market share is increasing, not necessarily that it is eating into the AWS market share. It is actually eating into some other cloud service providers. So that's what is currently happening in the cloud space. Massive change, massive disruption in the cloud space that is happening. I'm going to request our team to quickly take the audience's perspective to this. Let's have one quick poll and understand what are you seeing from a market standpoint. Can we have the first poll, please? Okay, so we're getting the responses thick and fast. May I request everyone to give your views? This, of course, could be as far as you are concerned within your enterprise, or it could be your customer's enterprise if you are a managed service provider or a cloud service provider. Okay, so we've got 60% of you. No, we are getting more. Okay, so let's possibly give 5 more seconds. Okay, we've got everyone who's voted on this. So maybe we will end this poll and just hold on. Don't share the results. I want to introduce today's speaker and reflect on these on the poll results that we've just got, and also take forward this conversation. So I'm extremely glad to have Aditya with me, founder and CEO of Centelytics, a young entrepreneur, absolutely creating waves in the cloud market. I love interacting with him. He's obviously started the company from a garage, which has now, of course, become a multi-million-dollar business and a flourishing business. Works with multiple organizations, end customers, managed service providers, cloud service providers, and helping them manage their cloud infrastructure. May I invite Aditya to this forum, please?
Awesome. Thank you, Sandy, for having us here. Really appreciate it. And as always, really good to be connecting again with you and with a larger audience here. So again, I appreciate everybody's time to go on. Not sure if I'm the expert, but I'll do my best to share our perspective as Centelytics and a little bit of my understanding about the space and what exactly is it that enterprises, startups, and even MSPs are doing in terms of taking the cloud journey forward, and how exactly does the digital transformation story fit into a cloud story. So with that, I'll take your permission to share my screen and go on from there.
Yeah, and I'll request the team to share the results as well. So as you bring that up, we can also see what everyone has responded to the questions that we had.
I think it's what we would have expected. So 48% want to optimize their cloud costs. I think most people are using cloud native tools or doing it manually. So I think hopefully we'll have something for the audience to take back today. And okay, good. So we have a large presence of managed service providers, but also a good distribution of ISVs and enterprises. So really looking forward to sharing some of our insights with you guys.
Awesome. Let's stop sharing and Aditya, please take it forward.
Awesome. So just to quickly start with our story, right? I think it's a deep tech event, and I would love to give everybody a quick snippet of who we are and how we've gotten and where we are today. So analytics was something I started back in 2017. This was when I was still at Stanford. I was coding out at night and basically, getting my graduate degree during the day. And that was one hell of a time, but we got through it, and Analytics kind of was born right from my dorm room there. 2018, we got selected into StartX. We, in fact, became one of the first StartX companies in the cloud space, and what bootstrapped this all the way to about 25 people. 2019, I had graduated. We had started getting our footing. We were recognized by Gartner as a cool vendor. We got into the red herring top 100 startup list and basically started identifying our market segments. What's our go-to-market? Who exactly should we be reaching out to? And 2020 just accelerated that, entered us into our growth mode. So we basically grew quite rapidly during peak COVID years, and we basically became a 150 people company. We manage close to about $300 million plus of public cloud across AWS, Azure, and Google. And we pretty much have customers and or partners in every continent. And hopefully this year, the story and the journey will continue. So we're expecting this year to bring us a compounded growth of about 200% plus. And we're going to exit this year managing close to about $250 million or $750 million of public cloud infrastructure under the Analytics umbrella and brand name. And very happy to say we just found out yesterday we are the startup of the year for Globee Awards 2021. So that's another really recent recognition that we earned. So really, really excited and very, very happy with our story, and really hope to double down and keep bringing value, which has always been the name of the game. And on that note, I think it's very important for a company to have a vision. So let me share with you what our vision is. We look at Analytics as the pillar to democratize cloud. So if you look at the on-prem world, this in our view was basically an era of monarchy. You kind of went to the central IT and you hope that they would have the resources and the availability and the time to provide you what you needed to deliver your business results. Cloud disrupted that. And just like any monarchy, I think cloud brought in this sense of anarchy. And what I mean by that is now you have the full agility. You can do whatever you want at whatever speed you like. But what it does in return is it takes away the control. So while the central IT still has to account for the cost, they don't have the control on who's spinning up what, when, and how. So in our view, cloud management is all about bringing democracy back. How exactly do you bring control without losing the agility, which is kind of what a true democracy is, right? I mean, you can have the freedom of speech, but you can't yell fire inside a movie theater. So I think that's the perfect example of how a democracy is a compromise, which we all agree to live by and have, a peaceful life in the process. And that's our vision. Anything and everything we do at Analytics has to somewhere align with this thought process of bringing democracy back to the cloud infrastructure. Our mission as we continue on this journey is to harmonize technology and services. I think we've seen great tech companies not succeed because all the technology is a few, but it does need an engine to actually deliver the energy that it is carrying. While on the other side, if you take a pure play services approach, you will not have the scalability and the sort of repeatability that technology brings into the equation. So from our perspective, everything we do is how can we harmonize the services and the technology? So whether it is an end customer's IT team that is trying to use us as a technology vendor, or it is an MSP that is trying to use us as their technology vendor, but our IP, our UI UX, our solution is just supposed to bring the whole ecosystem together and create this seamless experience of working with IT teams, working with MSPs, and go from there. So what are we, right? What all is it that we bring to the table? What all are our offerings, solutions? We were really keen on focusing on a demo, but at the same time, giving everybody here a gist of who we are. So we really wanted to just wrap it up in one slide and then kind of move into a live demo and go into a Q&A from there. So really summarizing our essence, we look at ourselves as an all-in-one offering to do your cloud management, to do your cloud ops, to do what is also being termed as your site reliability engineering, your SRE kind of workloads, automation, optimization, and other stuff. So we start by talking about our product layer. This is something that every MSP can offer to their end customer as self-service. Every end customer can directly procure from us as a self-service to basically be able to do a better job at managing their cloud. In here, we start with cloud visibility. This is basically the pillar where we talk about showcasing you a mirror image of your entire cloud infrastructure. So whether we are talking about your cost, your inventory, your utilization, we want to show you every last detail about everything that's going on in your public cloud infrastructure. From there, we take all of this data and present it back to you as optimization. So what does this mean? Well, everything to do with saving money on the cloud, whether you're talking about your RI planning, your wastage tracking, your instance right sizing, your instance scheduling. We have hundreds of recommendations on what are the different places in public cloud that you can actually go and save some money. Tag management, this is really, really important for any organization because, as I said earlier, IT is now decentralized. So it's not about what exactly is IT running, but what is IT running for whom. So if we can create a chargeback mechanism where every single resource is tagged, cost attributed to a specific business unit, cost center, environment, whatever your conventions are. And we have taken a leap jump here because first we have something known as tagging compliance, where every customer can make sure that every single resource follows a predefined convention for tagging. And then we have something known as auto tagging, which basically smartly goes and auto tags the resources, which may be untagged or mistagged for some reason. We talk about security and health. So here, I mean, cloud is secure, period. There's no question about it. But cloud security ends at their hypervisor layer and starts up again all the way where there are 600 points of failure just between your hypervisor and your OS that you are responsible for securing as a cloud consumer. So our job is to secure these 600 different endpoints, these 600 different configurations. Some examples being your MFA, your encryption, your ports, your keys, all of those have to be kept up with, secured, and managed in order to make sure that your cloud environment stays secure. And we take on that entire responsibility. In fact, we have built in security compliances around HIPAA, PCI, GDPR, ISO 27001, NIST, CIS, CSA, and many, many more. So we have a gamut of compliances that we can support by default. Cloud automation becomes a very interesting piece. How exactly do you reduce the number of requests coming into you as the cloud team or the IT team? Well, you enable a self-service to your application user, to the business user who just wants to maybe start their VM, stop their VM. Maybe they want to just set up a backup schedule. So you want to give them some really basic self-service use cases so that they don't have to constantly be raising a ticket or kind of expect you to give them cloud access in the process in order to do those basic day-to-day cloud activities. And that's what cloud automation is all about. How do we enable the user and the client for the cloud team to do their job faster, quicker, and with fewer number of tickets to us? And last but not the least, governance and reporting. This is where the whole umbrella comes together. We're looking at giving you budget alerts, cost alerts, security alerts, tagging alerts, anything and everything that you may want to be notified about, reported about, MIS kind of information. All of that is going to be readily available and it can trigger into any tool, any integration, anything from that sort. So this is our product portfolio. Everything you see here is stuff that you should be expecting to do as self-service and should drastically automate your managed service aspect or your cloud team's sort of day-to-day activities. On top of this sits our platform layer. So when I say that, these are the capabilities that we can provide to MSPs. These are some of the capabilities that we use to deliver our value to end customers. And they start with basics like integrations. So not only do we provide the native cloud integrations, but we also provide ITSM integrations. We provide real-time monitoring tool integrations. We provide email integrations, single sign-on. So basically, we're trying to bring the whole ecosystem together rather than being this kind of siloed tool which sits somewhere in your portfolio. We really want to become a part of your day-to-day operations and go from there. Sales intelligence is really important for business and for growth. So what we're doing here is we're a modular console. Our biggest USP is you don't have to buy everything that you see. You can come in, buy what you need, and kind of expand with us from there. But at the same time, we are capturing the data to kind of help you realize, okay, I'm currently using Centralytics for optimization, but there is so much potential in my security that I can leverage them for, or there is so many things in my tagging that still needs to be updated or improved. So it allows you to figure out where next to focus rather than taking a massive tool and then trying to make sure you drive maximum value from day one. Catalog management, this is very, very critical for both us and for MSPs. What we're trying to do here is make it really, really easy for the end user to figure out what all is it that my tool or my MSP provides to me. So everything that we provide is available as a widget and is a part of our default catalog. Additionally, if you're an MSP, you can basically create your own widgets and make them a part of this overall catalog. So really quickly, from having 3,000 different widgets from us, and MSP brings in another 200 of their own use cases, capabilities, SOPs, and all of a sudden you can go to market with this amazing, holistic, complete catalog to go to market with. And I'll just give you a really, really quick example here. So a lot of times we do things like instance right sizing, but so far we do not do the options around container right sizing. So an MSP who does that will plug that into their catalog and provide that as a service to their customer. Same exact thing could be an example for something like maybe database right sizing or query optimization, things that our consoles don't do because they're not exactly the core of cloud, but they still fit into the overall managed services gamut. And last but not the least, layout and access management. So we've made the console extremely modular. As I said before, the widget-based console with a fully customizable menu allows us to integrate into systems. So when we work with MSPs, most MSPs have either some internal IP or they want to at least do a little bit of their own IP in some form or the other. So the layout and access management gives them a full two-way integration, makes it really, really easy for them to have, sort of the buy and build on top strategy rather than being forced to choose between build versus buy. And that to us is really, really important, is that we do believe every layer in our sales process should have some value add to their end customer, whether it is us to an MSP, MSP to an end customer, and an IT team to maybe their business users. Doesn't matter where you sit, you got to be able to add your own value in between two layers. Now, how does the product layer and the platform layer come together? And how do you really drive value from it, right? I mean, optimization is great, but how do I take this to market, or how do I use it internally? Either way you want to look at it, the answer stays the same. We want you to create different practices, different go-to-markets, which are more service-oriented, more outcome-oriented than tool-oriented. So a good example is FinOps. And I can tell you that for some partners and some customers, FinOps means optimization. For others, it's a combination of FinOps, of optimization, plus tagging, plus cost monitoring. So what is your definition is your decision. What is your pricing is your decision. How you take it to your internal teams is, again, your decision. But we are here to enable you to create all these different go-to-markets and these different offerings in a matter of no time. So whether you're talking about FinOps, SecOps, chargeback, creating some kind of a tiered managed services, self-managed, semi-managed, fully managed, and we are a part of that journey. So we will work with you guys to get these go-to-markets enabled, successful, and grow together as one partner rather than us being an IP and sort of you being the service provider. We really want to create a joint story with everybody here. And last but not the least, obviously the OEMs, they play a really, really critical role to our success. And it happens at multiple levels. First and foremost, we have strategic partnerships with all of them. So we basically want to make sure we know what are the new features they're releasing, if they're deprecating any APIs, any bugs that we find in their systems when we integrate with it, we take care of all of that headache. Second, we play a really, really critical part for you guys to become certified partners. So if you're an MSP or even a big conglomerate trying to become a CSP, we will basically participate in that journey for you guys to become certified, partnerships, IP co-sell, and the entire 9 yards. And last but not least, obviously, we want to work with the folks in how do they actually how do we stay ahead of their native tooling? So staying, I think that would probably be the most important thing, is to make sure that we stay a step ahead of the game there. So with that in mind, that's us, right? In a nutshell, everything you see here and everything that's covered here is what Centralytics does. We'll be happy to take questions as well in a few minutes. I just want to move over and give you guys a really, really quick, high level kind of realistic view on how does the presentation translate into a console. And hopefully if I can do that in the next 10 minutes, I think we should be good to go. So just going to take a quick breather here to say this is our console. As you can see, pretty modern UI UX. We're fully designed with the REST APIs. You can integrate it into your systems, but we also have full white labeling capabilities. So when we work with partners and enterprises, most likely this would be their console, their URL, their logos, and their colors and themes. The way our console works is we basically get to define views, which is how the menu should be laid out, what should show up where. And when you log in, you basically get to define and create your own views and go and start your journey from there. As you can see, we pretty much support all clouds, all types of Azure services, AWS, GCP. We also have certain platform capabilities called out here. Just some simple examples. If I look at integrations as a quick example, all your integrations would get listed out here, and you could be looking at ITSM, email, you could be looking at single sign-on integrations and a bunch more. And similarly, we have full access control where you can define as many users as you like, go ahead and create views and attach the same to them. For the sake of everybody, I'm not going to focus too much on the platform side. Just wanted to show you guys that those capabilities are separately called out. But for the larger audience here as well, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the actual cost management and the product side of things. So as you can see here, we've taken a highly widget-led approach, and you start by getting a quick overview. What is it that I spent last month? What did I spend in my current month over my quarter? And you can then start getting a really quick breakdown on my cost by service. It's a full BI console. So what happens is I can drill down and go deeper into any specific service. If I want to know my EC2 cost a lot deeper, I can go down to the last instance ID that I may have been paying for. So I looked at compute, I break it down by family, get further deeper and deeper until I can hit my actual instance ID that I was incurring the cost for. We have some really cool stuff around compare. So if you want to compare your last month to this month, you want to compare your RDS to EC2, you can really quickly go ahead here and just change the widget on the left versus the widget on the right and do that comparison. And we also have some really cool filters here in case you have a multi-account, multi-cloud environment. All that data is aggregating in a single place. So you want to filter out by account, by region, by resource tag, date filters, all of those capabilities are there. As an MSP, if you're providing any kind of custom pricing, discounting, we can also take care of that by doing our custom pricing module. And from there, you should be able to drill down to every last dollar that anybody is spending. Last comment around cost monitoring, you can basically download any kind of report from here. You can schedule the same. You can also set up budget alerts for the same and go from there. If I was to give another example, just some details of services we have, right? So I was showing you an overview. Now I jumped into my cost monitoring for EC2, and you now break down your EC2 cost to every last mile, whether you want to look at your data transfer, you want to look at your multi-cloud account strategy, every single potential use case is widely covered here. Now, beyond cost, we enter the example around inventory. Now, this is where we're trying to showcase to you every single resource that is running. So if you see here and I go on more info, I'll have every single resource. Not only will I have their instance ID, name, region, environment, but also everything to do with their volume descriptions, their network, their architecture, and I can get some really cool reporting that I can send across as my inventory to any particular business unit or management or whoever needs that kind of information. So from there, I'm going to move on to something like optimization. That was 44% of the poll results, so I should be smart enough to cover that here. Right sizing is a really common example. What we are showcasing to you here is every single instance that is running, and we are right sizing it on the basis of CPU, memory, network, IOPS, disk. every single parameter. And we will then provide to you the best particular workload that we think you should be running. It'll also give you all the current information. And in most cases, you can also take a one-click action. So if you go in here, you can just go in and actually right-size your instance directly from here. It'll also give you upgrade recommendations. One of the really cool things about our platform is we're not pushing a black box algorithm. What I mean by that is you can actually go ahead and configure what is the definition of a right-sized instance for you guys. Production might have a different configuration, staging might have a different one, maybe your development environments have a different one. We'll be able to control all of that using our filtration capabilities. Moving on to long-term savings, here we're giving you some really high-level examples on RI planning. We're one of the only consoles that does have capabilities around normalization factoring. But just to give you a simpler example here, we're recommending to you that you should reserve 12 instances of M52X large. We're giving you the possible cost savings as well as understanding on what is it that you will save if you reserve a 3-year convertible, 3-year standard, 1-year convertible, or a 1-year standard. And it's really, really easy for you to then directly go into our console and buy from here, or go back into your Amazon console and buy from there. So we're a fully two-way integrated console. A lot of times when you're using CMPs, the fear is that if I do something here, how does it reflect in my console? And if I do it there, does it reflect here? We do not have any pseudo conventions. So anything you do here goes back to AWS. Anything you do in AWS comes directly right back into our system. Here are some examples around RI utilization. So these are basically reserved instances that have been bought, but are not being fully utilized. And it gives you a full sense on what's my instance, how much am I wasting? And basically it'll recommend to you to either sell the same or find a different workload to use it. And similarly, we also cover savings plan recommendations for all types of workloads. Last but not least, on the optimization front, we talk about wastage tracking. This is basically where we're talking about anything and everything that is orphaned, that is being underutilized or being missed, and it'll kind of go from there. Moving on to tag management, as I said earlier, we're pretty unique in this space. What you're seeing here is basically in our convention, we want 3 types of tags. We want everything to have a name tag. We want a test and a project, and project can only be A, B, or C. Just some demo data for you guys here. So what you can see here is none of my instances are correctly tagged. I can come in right into this console, find the tags that are incorrect, and I can go ahead and tag it right here. If I punch in a tag, it'll actually go and attach it to my specific instance. And I can also go ahead and upload Excels here so that I can do mass updates. I can, do remove, delete tags, and the whole 9 yards, right? It's a fully integrated console, as I mentioned. Last 2 things I would like to cover in the interest of time here. One is security. So here we're talking about showcasing to you your overall infrastructure. As you can see, we can show you your modularized security. We can show you your compliance-wise security, and we can also show you your service-wise security. And if you go into any specific service, it will call out every single control that we have, MFA being a good example, which compliance mandates it or requires it, and whether you are actually currently compliant or not. If it is remediable, if it can be done automatically, it'll also show you the ability to fix it with just 1 click. So as you can see here, none of my accounts here have a hard MFA, and 2 of them don't have an MFA at all. So that's a pretty big red flag that they should be focused on fixing. And last but not least, automation. So here you can go ahead and set up rules on creating AMIs, deleting AMIs, starting instances, stopping instances. You can set up all kinds of scheduling rules and go from there. So if I was to just go back and summarize, as we said earlier, you have all the different products in every single cloud. We also have dedicated reporting and governing capabilities. So here I can go ahead and set up, all types of reports in one go and go from there. So maybe select last month, current month. I can filter out my report, and I can then set up an email, Slack, Teams, wherever it is that I'm trying to send this report, I can do the same. So this is a really high level view for translating that one graphic into 10-minute demo. We'll be very happy to connect with you guys offline and go a lot deeper into our console capabilities and thereon. But at this point, I'll probably hand it back to Sandy to open it up for questions. And if there's anything we can address, happy to take that on.
Yeah, fantastic, Aditya. I think it was quite good. And to the audience, we've got questions coming in. So please use the Q&A module for sending out your questions. We will of course try to answer as many as possible. We have Akansha who will from Sentilytics. She will be taking up some of these questions and answer them along with Aditya. In the meantime, I want to of course I have a couple of questions, Aditya, if you would permit, but let's first go through a poll. We just want to make sure that we're getting the feedback from the audience with regards to the platform and the service that you just showed to us. So can we have the next poll, please? And by the time the poll is coming in, maybe I'll take the first question. You can, I'm sure it is much easier for you to answer, Aditya. What's your footprint in Middle East Africa?
Well, we have a pretty good footprint. So we are partners with the largest distributor and the only distributor for AWS and largest overall in Middle East and Africa. And we work with hundreds of partners via them, which is Redington Gulf. We also have some direct relationships and partnerships as well in the region. And it's been pretty recent. I would say it's been about a year since we entered that geography, but it's been really, really promising, especially since the data centers were announced there, and some of them have already gone live, the one in Bahrain and the one in Dubai and others. So really, really excited to go deeper into Middle East and Africa.
Okay, so we're still getting a few people who are answering sending out the poll results. But then let me take the second question. Will it support cloud provisioning or orchestration and resource management?
It sure will. So on the provisioning front, we integrate with ARM, Terraform, and CloudFormation, and we will be able to support that. In our experience, although I think most provisioning is still being done using scripts and terminals and other forms of sort of coding, but we do see that those scripts are getting deployed into our console and then being used by the non-coders in a one-click fashion or in a parameter-driven fashion. So that's been our experience, but yes, we do support provisioning and in sort of resource management.
Fabulous. Let's end the poll and see quick results of the poll. Can you just share it for everyone to see as well? Aditya, this is the results for you.
Awesome. I think it's as expected. So cost management is the #1 focus for every company out there. And I think the number of partners we have with a successful FinOps GTM is pretty evident of that. On the second question around, how likely are you guys to implement? I'm really, really happy to see that most of you guys are interested or quite likely. And I'm also excited to tell you that an implementation of a CMP is a lot easier than you think. I think it's about a day's worth of effort to start getting the value, and doing some POCs never hurts to see what is it that you're doing right and wrong in your infrastructure. And last but not least, I think, again, pretty expected that people would prefer a multi-cloud kind of environment, but we have seen single cloud being just as popular. Today's world is still highly single cloud, with people having some DR or some kind of minor workload in another cloud maybe. But we've seen this to be successful, even if you have a single cloud, but a complex environment, meaning 5 different accounts or 5 different subscriptions. And at that point, you do want something that brings everything back together. So, but absolutely great participation and love the responses. I think they're absolutely where we have our conversations every single day.
Fabulous. I have a question for you, Aditya. Obviously we've seen a lot of customers who are adopting to your platform, a lot of MSPs, CSPs, cloud service providers adopting to your platform. It's of course a build versus buy decision a lot of times. We of course seen a lot of clients or partners wanting to say, let me build it because that's our IP. That's how we get projected in the market. But then we've seen a massive amount of shift towards your platform from a buy standpoint or a partner standpoint. What's your reaction to that?
In all honesty, Sandy, I think the world is no longer about build versus buy. I think with the way the world is moving, you want to have some amount of IP and for sure have something internally available. The whole idea is bringing something on the outside that accelerates your time to market. So if we are able to succeed, it's because we are providing a buy and build on top approach. We're not limiting partners to only our feature set. We're seamlessly integrating into their existing IPs, into their existing branding, into their existing consoles that they may have in place, maybe bringing that into our console or somehow creating two-way custom integrations for them. But that allows them to go to market with their exact same own IP without having to be limited by the brand equity that a third party provides. So you can go ahead and start reselling a Flexera or a Sentalytics or a Cloud Health or a Cloud Checker, but you're limited by their pricing, their value proposition. The minute you're selling your own CMP, then you're no longer selling an IP, you're selling a service and you can do whatever you want with it. So it completely changes your ability to go to market. And like I said, harmonize technology with services. That's the only way to build a scalable managed services. Otherwise, the way these cloud vendors are bringing in more and more tooling and IP and things of that nature, it'll make it really, really hard for an MSP to just drive value with people. There has to be something else in the game.
Fabulous. There's one more question with regards to how easy or difficult is it to migrate from a platform to a Sentalytics platform or vice versa, right? How easy would it be for someone to exit from Sentalytics and get to a new platform?
So I think most IPs are built to try to retain, and most IPs are built with some level of dependency. And we've seen that in the market where if an IP has capabilities on what we call pseudo tagging or things which are only happening inside their console, but not getting reflected back into the public cloud, you cannot move. It's like setting up a brand new ERP or a brand new CRM. You got to do an entire shift of that data, configuration, security, etc. We've not built it that way. Anything and everything you're doing in our console is getting directly reflected back into your AWS and Azure. And so if you do choose to move on, you should have an easy exit. But more importantly, if you choose to come in, you should have an easy entry as well, because everything and anything you're doing is directly coming from your infrastructure and not being done in an artificial layer that then you got to maintain and build on top of.
Awesome. I'm taking a question that we had got is, what's your pricing model?
Well, the industry has become pretty standard about this. So roughly it's a percentage of your overall consumption. Having said that, we've realized that different markets need different models. So when we are looking, if a partner looks at us like an investment, we are happy to say, hey, this is our flat rate per year or per month with some upper cap on how much consumption you can attach. If you're looking for us like a revenue source, which is what we would love to see ourselves as, then we basically charge you a percentage of your overall billing. But roughly, just for everybody here to understand, both numbers add up to about somewhere between 1.5% to 2% of your overall cloud bill, and we go from there. I want to reiterate specifically for the MSPs. I know that's a lot of that's a lot for somebody making 7 points or 15 points as CSP. But if you're able to monetize this against a 15% or a 20% of managed services, which is what all our partners have been able to do successfully, then that piece becomes a lot more reasonable than just reselling us and expecting a margin out of that.
Fabulous. I'm going to take one last question and then we'll conclude this. Do you have a roadmap for a sizing or a configurator tool to size the resources, and cost estimation before going live?
We absolutely do. So we are working quite extensively, and this concept is known as cloud brokering. We are looking in, again, integrate versus build strategy and looking at what else is out there, because this is a really, really high market need and market demand. And we will be bringing that in by the end of this year. We should be expected to be a broker as well. But that's going to be a completely different layer to our console. So we're going to have cloud management, we're going to have provisioning, brokering, orchestration, and then we're going to have our platform layer getting more and more robust. And we have dedicated teams working on all three things in parallel.
Fabulous. Which essentially, what I think I'm hearing from you, Aditya, is that it is quite configurable. The platform is very configurable, modular. Either it is for the end customers who want to charge back to their business units, or an MSP who wants to build their service catalog. They can bring in their catalog as part of your platform and then add managed services to it, add their implementation services to it, and create a revenue stream for themselves for the market, right?
Absolutely, yes. So we are completely verticalized and very, very heavily focused on both MSPs and end customers. And we have a very clear segmentation on who needs what. And hence we've been able to get a good value to the market in terms of ease of use, pricing, UI, UX, configurability, the whole 9 yards. And it's been a fun journey so far, hopefully many more years to go ahead.
Fabulous, Aditya. Aditya, thank you very much for this session. It was very, very exciting. It's always amazing to speak to you, the clarity of thought that you bring on the table, and amazing work that you and your team are undertaking. Thank you very much. For the audience, thank you for your questions. Thank you for your interactivity. I'm going to request one more poll, just an end of this session poll coming your way. If you can just get quick reactions from all of you, it would be great. In the meantime, please remember this is session 1. This next session starts in exactly 13 minutes, where we will be speaking about dark web monitoring, which obviously focuses on what happens below the surface, right? We are all interested in the surface. We all Google on the surface, but then there is a lots that happens below the surface. So going to be a very, very interesting conversation. So please join in for that. Just wait for 30 seconds for everyone to share their feedback. Yeah, we're fantastic. We've got a good number of people who've given their feedback. Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone joining in. I'm sure you've got the answers from our side. We will also send out a written response to all of you with regards to these questions that you've asked, so that you have it with you for any future reference. Thank you very much. Thank you, Aditya, once again.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Sandy. Thanks, Network Science team. Great work, guys. Appreciate the time again.
Thank you. Take care.